Hello and welcome to Guitar Gods Unleashed. Today on Guitar Gods Unleashed, the singers of YNGWIE MALMSTEEN and why they left. Please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so today we're going to have a look at the singers of YNGWIE, and he's worked with a lot of frontmen over the years. Lots have left, lots were fired, some came back, some never returned, but we're going to have a look at this today, the history of YNGWIE MALMSTEEN's frontmen. Now, the first singer that YNGWIE worked with was a guy called Michael Edman, who he met in 1978 in a Swedish music shop. YNGWIE was just a teenager at the time, and he was starting out, he was in his band Powerhouse, and he met this guy called Michael Edman, who was known as Basil, and he was in YNGWIE's band as a singer. YNGWIE also sang a little bit himself then as well, but this guy Michael Edman sang in about 1979, 1980, and he was in and out the band lots of times. He was fired and rehired many times. One notably was when at New Year's Eve 1981 he had a fight with YNGWIE and he bit YNGWIE's finger, and that was a dramatic incident. And when YNGWIE went to the States in 1982 and joined Steeler, he asked Michael Edman, known as Basil, he's also known as Michael Stork, YNGWIE asked him to come over to the States and join him, but Michael Edman was unsure about all that, so that's why he didn't go over there. So that was the first notable singer that YNGWIE worked with. And when YNGWIE went to the States in 1982, he joined the band Steeler, and the singer was Ron Keel. And YNGWIE was really just using Steeler as a launching pad for his career over in America. YNGWIE only lasted 4 months in the band. It made him famous over there, really, amongst the guitar community and music world. But YNGWIE didn't get on with Ron Keel very well. He thought he was amateurish, and he even called him Mr. Ron Key. So YNGWIE was going to be out of there very soon, and, well, he was, because Graham Bonnet called, and YNGWIE went on to work with his next singer, which was Graham Bonnet. Graham Bonnet had previously worked with Rainbow and Michael Schenker Group. YNGWIE and Graham Bonnet hit it off, and they decided to form the new band Alcatrazz. YNGWIE nearly started a band with Phil Mogg of UFO, but he decided to go with Graham Bonnet. And YNGWIE liked this because he got to write all the songs and have some control over the arrangements and everything. But the band were not happy with YNGWIE, and tensions soon began. And they thought he was overbearing, and he annoyed everyone with his ego. So Alcatrazz had actually already decided to fire YNGWIE before he left, and YNGWIE was already going to leave. It actually came to a dramatic end when, on stage, YNGWIE had a fight with Graham Bonnet, a physical fight. YNGWIE was playing a solo to the crowd, and his sound cut out, and he turned and he saw Graham Bonnet next to his amp, and he blamed Graham Bonnet, and he believed that Graham Bonnet pulled the lead out or switched the amp off or something. So YNGWIE attacked him and YNGWIE strangled Graham Bonnet on stage, and they had a fight there. But and it was a physical altercation. But Graham Bonnet denies that he did it, but YNGWIE said he wasn't sure. He thought Graham Bonnet did it. But anyway, they decided to go their separate ways. Steve Vai then replaced YNGWIE in Alcatrazz. So whilst YNGWIE was in Alcatrazz, he also recorded a solo album in Japan. It was meant to be only released in Japan, and this was in early 1984. And the album was called Rising Force, and it's known as a classic amongst the guitar shred community. And YNGWIE met a singer called Jeff Scott Soto. He listened to his tape and he thought, oh yeah, this guy's good. And YNGWIE was going to sing on the album himself, but there was only 2 tracks with vocals. But Jeff Scott Soto had one evening apparently to record this album, or to learn the album, learn those 2 songs. And he came in the next day and sang, and they were happy with it, so they kept it. And that's how he got into the band. And then he was an official member of Rising Force then. Now, they recorded a full-length album with vocals, and that was the album Marching Out. It was actually recorded in 1984, but released, they held it back to 1985. Jeff Scott Soto recorded on the album and did a great job. And they went on tour. They put out a live it was VHS back in the day, a live video. It was live in Tokyo, in Japan. But Jeff Scott Soto left because he felt alienated by the band, because all the other members were Swedish, including YNGWIE, and he just felt a bit left out with the conversations with the Johansson brothers who were playing with YNGWIE then. And also, he wasn't getting paid much, so he decided to leave. Enter Mark Boals, who had previously been playing with Ted Nugent. And his first gig with YNGWIE was at the Day on the Green, where Metallica played as well, and Rat and Scorpions. It was in Oakland, California, in front of 60,000 people, apparently. And that was his first gig with YNGWIE MALMSTEEN's Rising Force. And Mark Boals then went on to record the Trilogy album with Yngwie in 1986, which some people regard as one of their favourite Yngwie albums. But it didn't last long because Mark Boals decided to leave in 1986, later that year, because he was not being paid enough, or wasn't being paid by the manager, who Yngwie later actually went on to sue as well. The manager was taking all the money, apparently, millions of dollars. So Yngwie was taking what he could, but couldn't afford to pay the band, and Mark Boals had enough, and he decided to leave at that time. So Jeff Scott Soto came back, and he was asked to do the remaining dates after Mark Boals left, but he wasn't kept in the band. He was let go at the end of the tour, and apparently the reason was they wanted to put an all-star band around Yngwie for his next album. So now it was into 1987, and Yngwie actually trialled out a singer. He auditioned a singer called Mark Waits, but it didn't work out. That guy was nearly in the band, and they actually recorded a demo, apparently, Dreaming, an early version of it. It was called Tell Me, but it just didn't work out. Yngwie was not happy with him. So then they got hold of Lynn Turner, who was available. Lynn Turner came into the band, and this was around the same time that Yngwie then had his accident in the car and nearly died in the E-Type Jag. But Lynn Turner came in after he now left Rainbow. Now, Lynn Turner recorded the album Odyssey with Yngwie, and they also did the live album Trial by Fire, live in Leningrad. But why did Lynn Turner leave? Well, he said in an interview that he found Yngwie was just overbearing and there was a power struggle between them, so he ended up leaving. Shame, really, because a lot of people say that Odyssey was Yngwie's best album. They could have done some great stuff if they'd done another album, but it wasn't to be. Just too much tension between them. Lynn Turner found Yngwie's ego too much to deal with. They've also had some back and forth over the years about who wrote the music and the melodies and stuff. Lynn Turner says he wrote the melodies and the lyrics. Yngwie says, no, he didn't, I did. Lynn Turner disagreed with Yngwie about that, so yeah, it was just not going to work out between them in the long run. And Lynn Turner left the band, and he ended up in Deep Purple after that and recorded the album Slaves and Masters in 1990. That could have annoyed Yngwie a little bit because Deep Purple was Yngwie's favourite childhood band growing up. But Lynn Turner was now going into work with Ritchie Blackmore on Slaves and Masters. So, for the next album that Yngwie did, it was Eclipse. And he needed a new singer, and he got a new band, and it was an all-Swedish band, and enter singer Goran Edman. And Yngwie recorded 2 albums with Goran Edman, Eclipse and Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice went to #1 in Japan. It was a big album for Yngwie, but shortly after that he was dropped by his label, apparently. Anyway, the tensions began on the Fire and Ice tour, and Goran Edman was getting fed up with Yngwie's antics, and at one point it reached a dramatic conclusion where at a sound check, Goran Edman was not feeling too good. He had like a cold and flu, and Yngwie demanded that he get up on stage and sing at the sound check. He said, something like, I want the fucking singer on the fucking stage right fucking now. And Goran Edman reluctantly agreed to go up, and Yngwie licked his plectrum and stuck it on Goran Edman's forehead during the sound check, and Goran Edman quit and said, that's it, I'm done. So that was the end of that. Yngwie had to continue singing himself on the tour, doing some Hendrix covers to get through the remaining dates. But he was looking for a new singer now. And who did he find? Ex-Loudness singer, Mike Vescera. Now, Mike Vescera recorded 2 albums with Yngwie, The Seventh Sign in 1994, which was a really good album, and the album Magnum Opus. He also did an EP with him called I Can't Wait. There's been some debate over why Mike Vescera left Yngwie's band in 95, 96, and it was because apparently he just wanted to do a solo EP, but there are some rumours that he may have had an affair with Yngwie's wife at the time, Amber Dawn Landin. So in 1996, Yngwie decided to record an album called Inspiration, which was a tribute to all his childhood influences growing up. Bands like Deep Purple and the Scorpions. There was a bit of UK and Kansas. And Yngwie got some of his previous singers back, Mark Boals and Jeff Scott Soto, to come and sing on the album. Lynn Turner also sang on Spanish Castle Magic, the Hendrix cover. But Goran Edman was not asked or didn't want to return. And obviously Mike Vescera was not going to return. So Yngwie put out the Inspiration album in 1996. So just worth mentioning, in around about 93, 94, Ritchie Blackmore had left Deep Purple for the last time, and Ian Gillan was back on vocals, and they got Joe Satriani in on guitar to finish the tour. And I just wonder why they didn't ask Yngwie to do it, or if they did or didn't, but Yngwie surely would have been a perfect choice for Deep Purple. I mean, it would have been a childhood dream fulfilled to follow in Ritchie Blackmore's footsteps in his own band, but I mean, it's interesting because Malmsteen played with Gillan on stage a few times back in 1990 and stuff, So he knew Gillan, and you think they would have asked him, but don't know why Yngwie wasn't able to do it, but who knows. So, after touring with Mark Boals for the Inspiration Tour, Yngwie needed a new singer for his next album, and he found a singer from Sweden called Mats Levin. Mats Levin was actually in an AC/DC tribute band called ABCD, as well as other projects, and he recorded the album Facing the Animal with Yngwie, and they went on a big world tour, and they released the album live in Brazil, or double live. Yngwie later re-released it on DVD called Raw Animal. Mats Levin left in 1998 to go on to other projects. So, in 1999, after Yngwie recorded his concerto album in 98, Yngwie made a new album called Alchemy, and he brought back Mark Boals again into the fold, and they made the Alchemy album, and then they recorded another album in 2000 called War to End All Wars, and the album had famously bad production on the album. It's kind of Yngwie sent anger, really. Yngwie blamed the sound engineer for this, and Mark Boals was not happy with the vocal production on it, and it's one of the reasons why he left during the tour, and it's also because he wasn't being paid by the management, and apparently Yngwie promised to pay him in Japan a date, and then the next day he said, where's my money? And Yngwie just laughed at him, and Mark Boals said, that's it, then I quit. So Yngwie recruited a new singer called Jorn Land, who was a Norwegian singer, and he played a few dates with Yngwie, but he was having none of it because he told Yngwie, apparently in New York, about he wanted to get paid, he hadn't been paid enough. And then this all reached a head in Cleveland, where Jorn Land had an argument with Yngwie Malmsteen's wife, April Malmsteen, who was also Yngwie's manager and part of the management team. Apparently there was a physical altercation. Jorn Land may have pushed April, and she screamed assault, and Jorn Land left immediately, and he said, I'm done with this soap opera. So that was the end of that. And Yngwie tried to sue him for breach of contract, and after this, all the US dates were to be postponed. However, Mark Boals returned to fulfill the remaining dates in Europe as well, but that was the last time Mark Boals then played with Yngwie. So, yet again, Yngwie needed a new singer. Jeff Scott Soto was not available. Mark Boals was done. Jorn Land was out. Mark Vescera, no way. Goran Edman, no way. Lynn Turner, no way. He needed a new singer, and he got another rainbow singer here, Dougie White. Dougie White came into the band, and Dougie White sang on 2 albums with Yngwie, Attack and Unleash the Fury in 2005, and Dougie White toured with Yngwie. But Dougie White left after those 2 albums on the tour. He said apparently he didn't quite feel right in that situation, something to do with having Yngwie's family on board the tour bus, and the fact that his family was also his management team. It just didn't feel right for him, so he decided to leave and walk away. So Yngwie needed a new singer, and he got Tim Ripper Owens, and he previously worked with Tim Ripper Owens on an Ozzy Osbourne tribute album, and they recorded the song Mr. Crowley together, although I don't think they ever met, but they played on the same song, so they knew of each other through that. And Tim Ripper Owens sang on Perpetual Flame, and also the album Relentless with Yngwie, and he also toured with him as well, but his contract ran out and they didn't ask him to come back. And it was around this time that Yngwie had decided that he was going to sing himself exclusively. So Yngwie now became the main singer of the band, and he decided that he didn't need singers anymore. So he put out some albums over the years. He's put out Spellbound, World on Fire, and Parabellum, and he's also got a live album coming out very soon, which is Live in Tokyo, and Yngwie, I'm sure, will be singing on that album as well. There's also going to be a video release with it. It's going to be a double disc, music and video. Interesting. So also worth mentioning, Yngwie has a keyboard player in his touring band called Nick Marino, who does a lot of live vocals as well, but Yngwie does like most of the vocals himself now, but he does have a keyboard player who sings as well, but Yngwie is kind of like the main singer. But anyway, there you go, that's all the singers that Yngwie has worked with over the years. It's like a revolving door, but he finally gave up and decided to just do it all himself. And do you think that's a good idea? Do you think Yngwie should be singing on the albums and live? Do you think he should get a singer to come back? Should he get one of his old guys to come back, or should he bury the hatchet and get Lynn Turner back, for example, or should he get a new singer in? What about a female vocalist? What do you think? Do you think Yngwie should get a new singer, or are you happy with him doing it himself? Please let me know in the comments. So the final thing to say is Yngwie's had a war of words with some of his singers. So it was in an interview with Tigman of WPDH Radio 101.5 FM. Yngwie said in an interview, it's about his singers, he said basically that he does all the parts himself, and he said, when I hire people for my solo stuff, I would write the bass parts, the drum parts, the guitar parts, obviously the keyboard parts, the vocal parts, and the lyrics. So like an ensemble, like an orchestra or whatever, or even for a performance on Broadway, there's a written piece and the performer is hired to perform the piece. if they for some reason don't work out, you put someone else in there. Okay, so basically Yngwie said this before, like, he compares himself to Leonardo da Vinci and says that, you know, Leonardo da Vinci paints the painting, he didn't have other people come in and finish it, he did it all himself, and Yngwie usually says that in interviews, and he says, for some strange reason, somebody seemed to think that A, it was a band, and B, the guy that was supposed to be the singer at the time was Elvis Presley or something, he continued. No. So I therefore, in 2012, decided I'm not going to hire singers anymore, and I sing myself. I said, good luck to you guys, see you, bye. And he also continued that he said, well, they seem to think because they're the singer and not the keyboard player, they're Elvis Presley. And they will soon find out, in my outfit, they're not Elvis Presley, and they will have to move on. It's an Yngwie Malmsteen solo career, he said. Yeah, so it's kind of ironic, he says, about Elvis, because Yngwie kind of looks a bit like Elvis with those lamb chops. But anyway, yeah, so that's Yngwie's final word on it. And it doesn't look like he's going to hire a new singer anytime soon. He's happy doing it himself. I think it's because he saves money on production costs and also the arguments and everything, because he's only got to rely on himself then to do it. So, don't know. But anyway, that's all for today. So thanks for listening to Guitar Gods Unleashed. I'll see you soon. Take care.